Hi, this is Billy from GH Music in Flemington. I'm up here in Sydney with Simon Ayton at Roland HQ. Okay, so Simon, we get a lot of guys coming in who play, cover bands, Weekend Warrior type thing,
Yep.
and a lot of them want to replicate a real authentic drum sound from a classic track, a classic drum sound, something like that. How can you do that using the Roland triggers and something like the SPDSX?
You need a sampler, and that's exactly what this is. So the SPDSX is different from the Octopad that a lot of people know in that it actually samples. So it's an awesome tool for adding new sounds to your kit. So if you've got a V-Drums kit or an acoustic kit and you want to build up your library and add new sounds, this is what you need. So what if I show you how to sample something?
Go for it.
Okay, so I've got it hooked up here to my iPad. I'm just using the little 3.5mm jack output, and I'm running into the left and right inputs on the back of the sample pad. Sample pad has a mic in that we can adjust level for, but also stereo inputs as well. So that's what we're going from the iPad into. So I've just hooked up my iPad, I've chosen a track, and I'm going to use a classic Australian rock drum track that I'm going to sample the kick and the snare from, and I want to assign the bass drum to the bass drum and the snare to the snare.
Awesome.
So here we go. Hit sampling, go into the basic sampling page, which is just one button push, so I've hit the buttons twice so far, that's it. Put it into standby for record, and then I just hit start recording. I play back the track. That's it, stop. And now I have my recording. So I can play that back. You'll hear a bit of silence at the start between when I hit record and when I started playing, but we can trim that up later. There's my part, okay? It's CD quality. I've got a waveform on the screen now, so I can actually see exactly where the audio starts. So, back in the old days, you had to use your computer, do your recording first there, and then transfer your samples into the SPDSX. Now it's actually all built in. The waveform editing is all in there. You don't need a computer for it. I can actually zoom in and out on the waveform, and I can go and find where the first hit is. So I might want to go through there. And firstly, I can trim it right up to the start of that sample, so I can listen to that. Okay, it's a little bit too tight, the trim, so I can zoom in and just get it just before the track starts, and now I have a perfect start. But what I actually want to do is just find the bass drum. So I'm going to go through here, and I'm going to use this little plus button on the front, and I can scroll through the waveform and find just where the bass drum is. So on the screen I can see there's the snare. I can have a listen. And I can see the bass drum there, so I can hear the bass drum. So what I want to do now is just trim it, so I just have the bass drum. So you trim the start and the end and have that. And once you've got that, you can assign it to the kit. Okay, so I've gone and I've trimmed my samples, so I have just the kick and just the snare as two samples on the sample pad. And I've assigned one to the bass drum, which is being triggered by the RT10K bass drum trigger, and the snare, which is being triggered by the RT10S. I've got them connected to the trigger input on the back of the sample pad, and there's my part. So it's great. It actually transports you to the first place you heard that song because it's the exact sound from the album. So it's a cool thing to do. You've got 3.5 hours of recording in here, so you can go completely nuts. I've only used seconds worth there because a bass drum is a fraction of a second and the snare as well. So you've got oodles of sample time. You can connect it to a computer and create your own samples and drag and drop them onto it. So it's very powerful.
Cool. Cool. Thanks, Simon. So that's how you can sample classic drum sounds using the SPDSX. No software or computer required, and the Roland triggers. We stock the Roland triggers and SPDSX at GH Music in Flemington, so you've got to come in and try them out.